I'm Mariana Danilovich. I'm the founder of Infiom. And hi, Rich. We've partnered with B&B Chain, which has many events in at East Denver this week. So we have all of our founders here with us today. And we basically are hosting 12 weeks of lectures with top tier presenters from our spaces, from Web3 spaces. Lectures are about metaverse and Web3. And I'm just delighted that today we have Rich Lotlikar, who I've known for several years, have been his advisor for SuperWorld, and probably one of the most knowledgeable people about everything metaverse. When we met back in 2018, Rich had this AR and VR vision on the blockchain that was really the predecessor of the space we're in. And he's been building this vision for several years now. He's probably one of the best known speakers in the space. And just to give you a little heads up, Rich, we have in this cohort, we have about a third of the companies are in the metaverse space. About a third of the companies are in the DeFi space, and another third in some form of a tools used for Web3. So that's the composition of our audience. So I'll let you talk about a little bit about metaverse, what's happened with it. Then maybe we can do some Q&A, and then maybe you want to talk a little bit about SuperWorld as well.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me. Just to give you just a high level on my background, I started off my career in management consulting. I worked on Wall Street. I was at UBS and HSBC in New York. Started off in real estate investment banking. I didn't know at the time when I was doing investment banking in physical real estate long ago that I would help, create the virtual real estate category. But life's funny that way. I got into venture capital in New York for a number of years, investing across tech and biotech back in 2007, and then about 13 years ago, I had a crazy idea, which was one of my first of my crazy ideas. Obviously, I have a lot of crazy ideas. This one was, wouldn't it be cool to go somewhere in the emerging markets and start a venture capital fund? So I got on a plane, didn't know anyone. I went to Ukraine, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Moldova in 2009. It took me about a year and a half, but I started a venture capital fund backed by Victor Pinchuk. Victor's probably the most influential person in Eastern Europe right now, and been for many years. But he's the guy who's backed a number of well-known venture funds around the world and projects. When Bono from U2 goes to Ukraine, Bono stops and sees Victor. Just an example of kind of who Victor is. But Victor backed me in starting a venture capital fund. We invested in about 25 companies in that part of the world. Preply is one of our companies. They're the largest online tutoring marketplace in the world. Did the same thing in Belarus. So I'm on the board of Tech Minsk, which was backed by the US State Department and Google. The company that Facebook acquired that does all the face filters for Instagram and Facebook was a company called MSQRD. They went through Tech Minsk and got bought by Facebook. So I had early exposure to augmented reality through that. And then after that, I was an early employee, first biz dev at TopTal, which is a talent marketplace backed by Andreessen Horowitz, helped grow and scale TopTal, learned a lot about growing and scaling a platform, how to be experimental and scrappy. So it was a very good, useful experience for me. And then about 7 years ago, I started Rogue Initiative Studios, which is a film, television, gaming, and virtual reality studio in Hollywood. My co-founder produced Call of Duty, Modern Warfare series, and Ghosts. And my production partner is Michael Bay, the action director, who's known for Transformers, The Island, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, so big action movies. And at Rogue Initiative, what we do is build franchises from the ground up, feature film, television, gaming, virtual reality, all the way to amusement park rides and toys. And the idea there is, all of this content, a film or a game or immersive content, is all built in engines, Unity Engine, Unreal Engine. And Rogue Initiative was backed by many of the top VR, AR venture capital funds. So I come from this VR, AR perspective. And to give you the origin story of SuperWorld, what happened was about 6 years ago, Pokemon Go came out, became this huge hit, as we all know. Everyone's running around looking for Pokemon all over the world. And, I thought to myself, what if you're not into Pokemon? I sure wasn't. but what if you're into music or history or travel or events or whatever it happens to be, right? How could we empower anyone to be able to create, discover, and monetize anything around them in real world locations? And so that was kind of the vision of SuperWorld. And then we added Web3 into that to enable people to actually own the geospatial environments around them and to be able to own the content that they're creating in a very direct way. And we're all familiar with the benefits of Web3 as it relates to that. So that was kind of the vision. I co-founded SuperWorld with my co-founder. His name's Max Woon. Max and I had worked together on the YouTube platform for a bit. So we come from another media company, and Max, he did Xfire and sold it to Viacom, but he's done Fizzle, Sliver, Skit, and Toonstar, all venture-backed companies. Sliver and Toonstar are well known in the immersive space. And then previously he'd worked with Stephen Hawking at Cambridge. So super smart guy. And we'd worked together and figured out there was a lot of synergies. And so we had this vision, you know what, let's build a world. And so we built SuperWorld. So I'll go into kind of that vision and kind of walk you through some slides that go into this. Some of this is going to be stuff that you might already are well versed in, but I'll kind of flip through the ones that are a little bit more familiar to you guys, and we can drill down just to show you some of the stuff that we're doing. But here you go. So again, I think we're all aware of this. The last few years, more and more people have gone online and gotten more virtual, right? I mean, whether it's a video game or whether it's us being on a Zoom call right now, as opposed to all being in a location for Founders Academy, we're all virtual. We're all more digital, and some of us like it that way, obviously. So, again, blockchain solves a lot of problems. I think we all know all the benefits of utilizing Web3 in this circumstance. I think what we've seen over the last 12 years has been this, movement from the smartphone to location-based, applications like Uber, Airbnb, to utilizing Web3 and NFTs to own content. The world has really kind of embraced some of these concepts or gotten to know about them. I think the last 6 months has obviously cooled down some of people's intensity and passion to NFTs, but the core technology is still being embraced, I think, by us in the know. And what we're saying is that AR is going to be a big part of the future. And it's coming, right? Hardware is being produced and is going to be released very soon by Apple. That's going to bring some of this into more of impact. AR cloud is coming fast. All the companies are building technology that's going to enable us to visualize our surroundings, place content in our surroundings, and with generative AI, be able to create any type of content by just saying a word or typing a word or thinking about a word soon. So the ability to create this content is coming very fast. The AR market is growing and is going to be transformative. The fact is that all of us on our devices are getting the ability in a very democratic way to create and view these AR experiences through LiDAR technology. We're able to scan environments very easily. 5G networks are rolled out so we can all access this type of content and view it around us in real world locations right from our phones. And the beauty of this is that there's just a lot of ways to access AR, whether it's on your mobile phone, on your laptop, or very soon on glasses. So again, we want to make it very accessible. And the world is ready for AR because of that. And that's why Pokemon Go could grow that fast, is any phone was able to capture this. The metaverse, as we all know, and there's a lot of different definitions of it. There's a lot of words that are thrown around. What I think of as the metaverse is the fact that your physical life and your virtual life, your digital life is really coming together. So things that you thought of as more physical, maybe running around the block or going to the gym or going and meeting your friends on the beach, has a virtual component to it. And things that were more virtual, like doing the Zoom call or, playing a video game, things that maybe are thought of as more digital or virtual, has a physical potential ramification. Can you get an NFT that gets you into a real world event, or enables you to benefit from something in the physical world? So what I think of as the metaverse is that interplay between your physical life and your virtual life, and SuperWorld really encapsulates that, because we cover the real world. And another comment that I'll make on that is, our focus at SuperWorld is actually to keep you in the physical world, right? So that's something a little bit differentiated about us. We don't want to create a life escaping platform, but what we want to focus on is, how can we enhance your real life, your physical life? And also, the other a big part of our mission is, how do we actually improve the world? So this is all parts of, again, a use case for the metaverse that I'll talk about, but just kind of wanted to define what I think is the metaverse. And as you guys all know, this is just the beginning, right? There's metaverse platforms or virtual worlds that have been created in the past and in a more centralized fashion that have done really well, and are growing very fast. But I think that Web3 has a lot to offer, and can make these worlds and other new worlds even better. So interoperability is a big part of this. Having some standards is a big part of this. But I think that there's a lot of giants out there that we're able to climb onto their shoulders, and we've sure embraced that at SuperWorld. Again, I think AR is going to be the gateway to the metaverse and what's coming. And we're really excited about the new headsets that are coming out, and the technology that's being provided to create AR content in real world locations on the fly through, generative AI. I don't have to tell you about NFTs, so I'm going to skip through this. But I think the future of Web3 in the metaverse for us is really the utilization of DAOs and real world locations, utilization of DeFi, and really a core fact is, SuperWorld's not a game. I'll get into SuperWorld, but it's about your real life. It's about real world utility. It's about, how can we, again, enable you as a business owner, as as a student, as someone who's involved in your community. How can you use the tools that we're building to enhance your real life, to help you build a livelihood? If you're worried about losing your job because of Chat GPT, well, how can you use Chat GPT to make more money for your job in SuperWorld, right? Or your real job utilizing SuperWorld to enable and enhance your livelihood, right? So that's kind of our focus at SuperWorld. Again, SuperWorld's a virtual world. You can think of it as a social platform as well, mapped on top of the real world, that interfaces with all parts of your life, online and offline. And our overall mission is to enhance your real life, but it's also to enhance humanity. How can we build a virtual world that actually empowers humanity, improves the world? We plant trees when you buy virtual real estate. We've partnered with the World Bank in the Caribbean. We had tribes in the Amazon create digital art, which we'll show you. But the point is that the idea of can we build something that improves our lives and improves the world is a big core focus for us. The SuperWorld platform is kind of thought about in a few different ways. So we have an AR mobile app. We have virtual real estate, so you're actually able to buy virtual real estate in real world locations. We have an NFT marketplace that allows you to create digital assets. Our focus there is unlocking real world value. And then other things can be built. So applications from consumer all the way to enterprise can be built on top of SuperWorld. And we have a couple of things that we're working on already, in this case with real estate. So again, just to kind of get you guys synced with, where we are in terms of the product. On the virtual real estate side, we've divided the surface of the earth into 64 billion properties covering Earth. 0.01, 0.01 longitude, latitude. And, on Earth at those places, there's iconic places, there's, there's deserts, there's ocean, there's everything, right? So to be clear, you're buying 0.01, 0.01 longitude, latitude covering Earth. You're not buying anything on the physical Earth, but you're buying the virtual land covering Earth. Each plot is 0.1 ether, unpurchased, so about 150, 160 bucks. You can buy a plot, reprice it to anything you want, and then you become a stakeholder in that location. So you can activate monetization from advertising, e-commerce, digital commerce, data, analytics, gaming, DeFi, anything that results in monetization in that geospatial area that you own. So you can buy a plot of land, you become a stakeholder there, and then you can reprice that land to whatever you want. So if you get a good spot in Manhattan or LA or anywhere in the world you think is valuable, you can reprice it to whatever you want, and then you benefit from all the monetization that happens there. And you can accrete monetization. So you can accrete value by, starting to add things there that people want to look at. You could start selling things there, and then other people can do the same. And there's an infinite number of filters on the world. So, I might see something in Central Park that you've posted, but I might not see something else someone else has posted there because I'm not following them or connected to them. So ultimately, the vision here is that everyone has their own world on top of the real world, but the properties are the same, right? We have a mobile application that allows you to see things in AR around you, as well as be able to place content in AR. It's kind of like Pokemon Go-esque, is kind of where we'll go with that. But the idea is that you can visualize, create, discover, and monetize on the mobile application as well. Again, we have an NFT marketplace that allows you to create digital assets and place them in real world locations, 2D, 3D, audio, any type of asset. And again, to market your business or to transact directly. Maybe you're selling some tickets to an event, or you're selling a souvenir somewhere, or selling a used car at the grocery store, someone click on and see the car or whatever. So all types of use cases, but we want to really focus on real world utility. And I'll just show you just kind of really quick how the purchasing works. It's pretty easy. Just click anywhere on the map, purchase. It's MetaMask. We have about 10 wallets or more, actually. And so that's just a quick and easy, run through of buying virtual real estate. This is our NFT salon integration with our mobile app. So you can place an NFT in a real world location, and view it and buy it. And we're improving this interface, but this is an example of kind of how it works. That was a 3D yacht we did. So this just shows you the idea that you can create an NFT, you can place it on our map visualization, which is available on the browser on your laptop, pinpoint it somewhere, but then that will also be viewable on your mobile app in that location. And so we want to kind of put together the fact that you can create digital assets, place them in a location, view them from that location if you're in real life, or view them in that location regardless of where you are in the world. And do that anywhere in the world. So that's an example of that. Again, in terms of uses so far that we're seeing, people are getting together in the real world and creating content in real world locations. So, the first example is a group of artists got together in the park and created artwork in AR that they all looked at in a real world location. And then that shows up on our map interface. So if you're not in the park, you can click and see what they're adding to that location. And, so the point is similar to what I was saying before, you can access content from anywhere, or again, create content anywhere and monetize content anywhere. The second example is just placing AR content. It doesn't have to be an NFT, it could just be AR. And we'll want you to give you the option to being able to sell either content in AR or content structured as NFTs and display them in the real world. This is how mainly people are using SuperWorld now. In the next couple of weeks, we are announcing a big integration, but IRL events is going to be that first category is going to be a big push for us. So we'll create a self-service event tool that will launch that, as well as, immersive tech Web3 integration for events. So that's going to be a big push for us. We already have events on the map. So one of the things you can do in SuperWorld is already, just as an alpha, if you want to see what's going on in your city, come to SuperWorld, type in your city, there's an events tab, and you can see events and sign up for Eventbrite or whatever. And we're not in all cities around the world. So I think we're in like 10 major cities. So I don't know where you guys are coming in from, but the point is that in many cities around the world, you can find events, and very soon they'll be rolled out across the world. These are all Eventbrite events. So I think for ETH Denver coming up, we'll have like all the ETH Denver events if you guys are going to be there in SuperWorld. So if you want to see what's going on any night at ETH Denver, you can go click in and you can find, what's happening, and click in. And you probably all gotten these Excel spreadsheets of like all the parties that are going on whenever you go to a conference. Well, instead you can just come into SuperWorld, and whatever conference or event you're going on, you can see it all on the map. And then we'll have immersive tech and Web3 integrated into that too. This is an example of adding content in real world locations. We did this at Miami Art Basel. But it just shows you kind of what we've done in terms of having artists be able to add digital content into locations during in this case, an art show. So this is all 3D content. This was on the beach. We had an integration with SuperRare, so you can click on it and then just go to SuperRare and buy content. So if any of you guys have NFT marketplaces and stuff, we can integrate. Just showing you just different kind of ways of adding content in real world locations. This was a guy selling, renting eco capsules. So you put an eco capsule somewhere, you can walk into it, see what it looks like, and then rent it. That was the 3D yacht that I showed you earlier as well. That was in Monaco Yacht Show. This is just some artwork in a park. I think it was a fundraiser. This is a concert. Just another big art piece in a conference. So just showing you some of the stuff that we can do. And then this was just an example of someone, I think it was like one of the first NFTs sold in Times Square, which is an artist put his NFT there and sold it. It's really, really cool, and it worked. We've done things with, Flint Water Festival is a little dated, but just shows you kind of an art walk, kind of a philanthropic kind of thing. So a lot of things we do are very focused on raising money as well. This was an artist that kind of put this 3D sculpture on the walk. This is kind of cool. Like, we had an artist come to us and say, hey, I want to recreate a temple, and I want to put the temple in Egypt, and then I want to sell my artwork in the temple. And so we built a huge temple in Egypt that you can walk through and you can view his art. We'll just show you just a video of this, but this temple is available. It's viewable in augmented reality or in WebGL. And, we can do all kinds of stuff. So this was an example, but this could be a government building. This could be an embassy, anything you want. Barbados announced they're going to build an embassy in SuperWorld, but you walk in through the temple, you can see artwork on the sides and in front. But the point is the content that's possible is AR, it's VR, it's WebGL, it's audio, it's haptic. There's no limit to the type of content that exists in SuperWorld. We like it to be photorealistic because it's in the real world, but it doesn't have to be. You can create a totally fantastical world and place it in a real world location as well. This is an example of what we did in the Amazon jungle. I was surprised myself that tribes in the Amazon had smartphones, and they did AR, but this was created by tribes in the Amazon. Just an example of like what's possible. Again, they're showing off the deforestation that's happening. So you could view kind of this artwork in the Amazon placed in different areas. So you could see like places on the satellite map that didn't have, they were deforested. So example of the super yacht we did as an NFT, again, showing you that you can create an NFT that works as a ticket, but it's a 3D kind of experience that you can buy or do something with. This is an example of that, just the image of the yacht. Again, I mentioned Barbados announcing their embassy in SuperWorld. So governments have come to us, and we're in a number of talks with real estate developers and physical real estate companies that want to do things. We find that a lot of them buy our virtual real estate because they understand how that works. We're partnered with Metaverse Group as well. They're a big Metaverse agency. So agencies are another great partnership. If anyone's creating immersive tech or Web3 types of integrations, we're very open to integrating. The idea is, again, if you're creating a virtual world on the real world, there's just a lot of different ways to monetize and to partner and to create opportunities for user-generated monetization as well. We're very focused on SDG goals at SuperWorld. So again, anything that we can do to make this a very positive effect on the world is very important to us. So anything that you guys are working on that help these things as well, we're very much committed to. We have a number of investors that we've partnered with as well for what we're doing from all over the world. We're always looking for investors that understand our long-term vision and want to get involved and help. And we've been all over the press. We're fortunate to have our story kind of been told and shared. We were in the New York Times again on last Sunday. And the telling thing about it that I like to tell people is, when people know about SuperWorld, they love to share the story because they come to SuperWorld to share stories. That's the reason they buy places in the world, is they have a story to tell. And so the person who was interviewed on Sunday, heads the Web3 practice at Ernst & Young. And he was like, I own land in SuperWorld because I met my wife at a bar, and that's the place I own. So people like to share these stories, and I always love hearing these stories because I'm a global nomad and live around the world. And I think that's the vision of what we're doing, is to share the world and to be able to live and experience the world. So I'll stop there, and happy to take questions and go into more depth on any of the topics. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rish. That was awesome. Let's see if we have any chat. If we don't have any questions, I have a ton of questions. So this whole idea behind taking the real world and adding the digital world overlaid on the real world. I've been working on projects like this for quite some time, and we were envisioning them since the mid 90s probably. What do you think we have today? I saw all those technologies that you're talking about. What do we have today that would kind of make this a reality? This real integration of digital with physical world.
Yes. So, I think what we've seen in terms of our direct experience is that people that understand or appreciate what's coming in terms of this, integration of physical and virtual. And by the way, the last couple of years, as we all know, with Meta changing their name, Facebook changing their name to Meta, and the metaverse becoming a thing in people's mindsets, has made that a lot more interesting and more apparent for people. But what we see is that that people intuitively understand the idea once they wrap their heads around what that means. to bring virtuality into their physical lives and vice versa, bring physical into virtual. And some of us might be wearing a Whoop band. Some of us might be like tracking our steps on our iWatch. There's things that we're already doing that are virtual and physical and bringing those things together. But what we're seeing is that, those that are solidly in the physical world, let's say a real estate developer or, someone who has a retail store, someone that, has a brand that is a physical product. All of those physical, customers, they are understanding the value of virtual. They're understanding the value of selling an accessory that's more accessible, that's virtual, that doesn't cost anything to make. They understand the value of visualizing a piece of property virtually, or to be able to use virtual content to bring someone to their physical properties like Pokemon Go did. And so there is this intuitive understanding of physical and virtual. And I think that, for us, it's about talking to our customers that have come on board and bought virtual real estate, so our super citizens, and understanding what it is that they want to build. And that's really what's enabled us to figure out what our product roadmap is okay. So, one of the things I mentioned is events. So that's going to be a practical real world example that's launching in 2 weeks. We already have it up, but you'll see a bigger integration and announcement and a partnership. But the point is that we'll, again, enable people to discover real world events, to buy tickets to real world events, and then very soon be able to join, buy collectibles to those same events, or buy NFTs, or see immersive content and live feeds and other things. So events is one category of making that a reality. I think the second category that we're excited about is visualization of commercial real estate and putting content into real world locations where physical developers already want that foot traffic. So that's number two. I would say number three is likely something related to selling products, whether it's digital commerce, as we already do, which are kind of NFT, digital objects or art or things like that. But I'd say also kind of moving that to more e-commerce. So can you visualize something, click on it, and just buy it on Amazon and get it shipped to you? So that's probably the third interesting use case for us.
Yeah, so let's look at the event one. I go to a lot of events like the rest of us probably. And usually, by the time I get there, I use my Waze app, and then I'm searching through my email to find the invite, because on the invite it says where to park, where to go, where's the entrance, how much is parking, is it validated or not validated? There's just like so many components of that, going to an event where I'm using digital data. Are you envisioning all of that data sort of being like a click away in essence?
Yeah, I mean, so, I think that there's, the mapping part of that, which is like getting to the destination of the event. I think that, is pretty well handled by Waze and Google Maps and things like that. We're built on Google and Mapbox and other technologies, and so that's a pretty easy integration to be able to just map you to get to wherever you want to go, whether it's seeing it in AR or just having a map. But I think that as we're thinking about events, I think the idea is we want to enable you to, in the decision-making point of which event do you go to, and if you can't make it to the event, can we provide other ways to engage with that event or with the with the performer or the venue or the community that's being formed around that event. I think events oftentimes are hard to find. There's a FOMO about missing the right event. You don't know which one you should go to. Like, I go to a conference and there's like 15 events and I'm like, oh man, should have gone to that one, but I went to the other one. Or I was at this event and you were too, but I just didn't know you were here. So, there's a few different things there that I think happen. And I think we can use technology, or we can use Web3, we can use, immersive tech to enable that decision making, as well as the community engagement that can happen before, during, and after the event.
It's really interesting because many years ago I was in Silicon Valley, and there were these two guys sitting next door to my office, and they were working on this little product called QQ, which became 10 cent, and we were just chatting on Thursday. We have a marketing presentation with a company that's kind of recreating that social experience that QQ 10 cent has developed over the years. And, part of the discussion back then with them was, should I know that Rish is also at this event location wise? So, like, kind of geolocating you if you're in my friend group, where you are at that time. And I think Twitter experimented with this, but decided against it because it was too obtrusive. But if you're going to, a crypto event, you kind of want to know where all your friends are. That's the idea behind it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think the knowing where everyone else is that's signed up for the event, or who's in your friend group, is definitely aiding the decision making about what event to go to, as well as the engagement with the event attendees. So yeah, I think that's a really important component of what we will be building into the event functionality and SuperWorld in general. So, whether you're going to an event or you just happen to live in a city, what we want to do is enable people to be able to communicate with each other in that city or in another part of the world too. So if I'm in Bali, but I want to get to know more people in LA, can I be in LA even if I'm in Bali? That'd be kind of interesting. Like, how does that look, and how does that feel? And how can I be a native in LA and Bali maybe at the same time? So things that I would just think about and want to make that a reality.
Like, we're not at East Denver, some of us right now, but like, how
Yeah.
can we be there without really being there? And maybe SuperWorld can help that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And in terms of this whole idea of tagging physical assets, we worked with Eric Poulier out of the KPMG incubator on this, which is basically if I can use my mobile and just tag a physical asset and then see a set of links associated with that physical asset that are content links, everything from the price, where you can buy it, can you buy it right away, what's the shape, size, how was it developed, is it sustainably developed? So there's like this whole, litany of things you may want to know about that asset that you're tagging in real world. Do you see that developing in metaverse?
Yeah. Tagging of, I missed what you said about tagging.
So
Sorry.
Eric Poulier's vision back
Yep.
then, it was called Tag It. It's
Yep.
basically you point your mobile phone to a physical asset, and whatever is basically related to that asset, all the information, all the data would actually be given you, and you can pick and choose things like, can you buy it, where can you buy it, can you buy it with one click, what's the shape, size, how it was made, was it sustainably sourced, is it
Yeah.
legally sourced? I mean, all these things that we talk about, in terms of authentication of assets and, other things surrounding them. Do you foresee that happening in metaverse?
Yeah, 100%. I just had a conversation about it yesterday. I think that, and to be clear, I think the opportunity for me just to present to you guys and tell you that we're very open at SuperWorld. So very open to partnering. We're open on the technology side. We're, partnered with lots of different technologies and companies. So, but I think our philosophy is that, there's a big part of what we're doing is related to data. And there's a lot of data in a virtual world on top of the real world. And so, adding metadata or tagging content or locations with data, or products with data, I think it all kind of is a big opportunity for people to get to know the world around them and to own that world and to be able to interact with that world. And so I think that, the things that you can't do in the physical world, without these technologies, is to get to know the information that you just mentioned. And I think, back to decision making for an event, I think this is decision making for a product, or something else. So I think by being able to expose certain data or information about a product that may not be visibly easily understood, can give you a lot of that decision-making power and ability. So I think that's very, very valuable, whether it's for products or commercial real estate, a building, a location, people. I think there's a lot of use cases there that are interesting. And I think the other thing to keep in mind, though, is on the people side of that, we really want to make sure this is, again, data monetization, data sovereignty, data integrity for users, and, being able to own your user data, back to Web3 and the ethos of, I think, what we're all into. So.
Yeah, so user data obviously has to be preserved. And on the real estate side, and just this whole real estate education side, where you have an immersive experience inside 3D objects that you can't have unless you're physically there, or some of these don't even exist, like the recreation you did with the medieval villa or whatever. Do you feel that that is going to be developed, and who do you think will pay for the development of that, of these assets that are maybe not easily available to people physically?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, there's a lot of places that, in the world that aren't accessible for a variety of reasons, whether they're just places that are hard to get to, or places that, we might cost a lot to get to, or not, something that we all want to, pay for, maybe because they're just outside of what we want, but we want to aspirationally kind of potentially, do that, whether it's like a really expensive hotel somewhere and we'd rather just do the normal one and maybe just check out what's being offered at this place. I think that the opportunity to experience places and locations using this tech is very interesting. So we're going to again work with partners who want to build those things, and some of those partners are governments because they want to increase tourism to some of these places. Some of those partners are expensive hotel chains that want to show off their amazing room or their airline seat. And so, I think that there is a clear demand for showcasing experiences that are inaccessible, or places that are inaccessible. And I think the economics of how that gets created is either on a user-generated kind of way, because maybe you're creating something that's out of this world that no one yet knows about, that they can experience, or there's an established brand that also wants to showcase what they're doing. And they're already going to do it. They're going to create it in AR and VR, but they're going to put it in SuperWorld just so it's another place to find it. And so we're kind of working with partners already on that kind of front.
I think, Pavel, they're building this company called Trender, which is
Mhm.
basically allowing malls around the globe. They're out of Romania and Silicon Valley, malls around the globe to actually have a presence in the metaverse and, somewhat save their businesses. Many of the malls in the US have gone out of business in the last decade, and especially during the pandemic. And so their question is, as you map the real world to digital real estate, how could you prevent users not to have to pay for 10 versions of the same land in New York, for example, and have 10 different worlds? Or is that okay, I guess? And is that, some are, I guess, more adopted than the others.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a question that comes up quite a bit. And, it's a valid question. And I think that, there's a few different ways of thinking about that question. I think the first way is, ultimately, these are communities. So, this isn't just a technology, this is a community. So the reason you want to be in SuperWorld is because you want to be part of SuperWorld, right? And if you think of NFTs, those are communities as well. Maybe you want to be part of one community versus another, and I could create a similar technology and maybe even similar graphics and similar, rules around that potentially, and you might still want to be part of one community versus another. You don't see them as generically the same. There are differences in those communities and the missions. I think our mission is very clear, and we've been at this for longer than almost anyone else in the space. We started in 2017, and the mission's been clear from the very beginning. Is we want to enhance people's real lives. We want to build a better world. So that's one thing, is the community aspect. Number two, there is a technology aspect to this. So we're very open as a technology. This isn't a game. This is reality. This is anything you want. So if you want to go into a game, you can. If you want to be in the real world, you can, but we're focused on keeping you in the real world. That's our mission and our focus. So where we're coming from, what we stand for. I always say I have 2 kids. The last thing I want to do is build a virtual world that sucks them into it. I want to keep you in the real world. I want to keep myself in the real world. So that's what we stand for. I think that statement really helps us, understand what we want and what we're building for. But don't get me wrong, if you want to be totally virtual and you want to go shopping in a totally virtual environment, you can do that in SuperWorld. But we want to give you incentives to do things in the real world, right? So that's number 2. It's kind of a combination of technology and the first one, which is the kind of the mission, the community mission kind of thing. And then I would say, thirdly, it's again, I'm on the board of OMA3, the Open Metaverse Alliance, alongside Sandbox and Dapper and Upland and Alien Worlds and Animoca and others. And we're building, again, a very interoperable open metaverse. And so what we want to do at SuperWorld is, again, we want to focus on your reality. And if you want to, at the moment of your reality, get into more virtuality, that's where we want to be. And so we're not a game per se. So a game, I would say, is a next step for that. So like, if you want to get into a game, okay, you're like automatically, hey, I'm going to create an avatar and then I'm going to go into a game and play a game. And there's rules of this game. Well, we're like, hey, we're here now. That's where SuperWorld is. So we want to be right there at your reality. So that's the difference. So if you buy land in SuperWorld, don't worry, you can get into Sandbox, you can get into another virtual world, even a virtual world that's built on top of the real world. But what we stand for is the vision. Let's enhance your real life. Let's improve the world. And then let's get you into anything else you want to get into as well, whether it's another virtual world, whether it's into DeFi, whether it's into a Web3 use case, whatever you want. So we want to be that baseline foundational world that you get into. So I would say that's the reason you buy land in SuperWorld. That makes
Awesome.
sense.
And then Lisa had a question. She's building a set of tools for onboarding of institutional investors, into DeFi. So Lisa, the podium is yours.
Thank you, Marianne. I just wondered, you know how in the beginning days of the internet, anyone could buy any URL, and later on, there were some rules. You know, you couldn't buy a URL that was owned by a company that a trademark was owned on. And by the way, hi, Harish, it's nice to see you again.
Hey,
Um, but I'm just wondering if you're anticipating any protection, like if somebody owns a hotel on land that someone buys, do they have some legal right to take it away, you know?
Yeah. So again, that's another question that comes up quite a bit. And, to be clear, what we're saying is in SuperWorld, you own 0.01 longitude, latitude on the SuperWorld platform covering Earth in this location. You don't own the physical real estate. You don't own any IP associated with anything in the physical world at that location. We're just telling you, hey, this is what's at that location. By the way, if you look at Google Maps or Mapbox or any of the tools that we can use to understand where 0.01 longitude latitude is, this is where what you are buying is that 0.01 in the SuperWorld platform. So that would be kind of how, if you bought a piece of land and there's a building there and then they tear it down and now there's a parking lot there, nothing changed for you in SuperWorld. You still own 0.01 longitude, latitude in that location. No difference of what you own in SuperWorld as it relates to that area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to me. It's just
Yeah.
whether it's going to make sense to the governments and all of those.
Yeah, and I think that, like, if you walk around the mall and you create a face filter and Taco Bell creates a face filter and puts it out there, and you buy that face filter, or you create something in AR somewhere in a real world location, and you buy and sell that. I think the future of this, and again, we're both guessing, right? Is that there is not going to be a restriction on data and commerce anywhere on Earth, unless it's like a country or a place where that's accepted. So you can go inside of a Walmart and you can pull out your app and look at Amazon, or you could look at a YouTube video and look at an Amazon ad on your YouTube video, and you're really just looking at data in a phone. And so AR is, the way I think about it is, you have hardware and you're looking at content that is being shown to you in AR or VR or audio. You're not going to be prevented from listening to an audible about how to shop on Amazon in a Walmart store. I don't think that's going to happen, but again, there's a lot of different ways to think about the technology. So, that's just more of a general framework.
A more interesting question for me is, as Mariana said, we're doing DeFi onboarding for institutions, but the ultimate goal is to do DeFi education around the world, especially in developing nations. And so I'd be really interested in talking to you about if we can figure out a way to partner and provide some education within the platform, within SuperWorld, that is accessible, maybe especially accessible to people who don't have the infrastructure for banking, and maybe not to the people who do, or on a paid basis. Anyway, that's an interesting topic. I sent you a LinkedIn note. We're already connected, but I sent you a note. We can talk about it later.
That would be awesome. And we'd love that. I mean, I think a big part of what we're trying to do, which very much, overlaps with what you just said, is we want to educate the mainstream user about how to get into whether it's immersive tech or Web3. And so would love to do, and again, with anyone here, we'd love to do co-marketing with you to our community and your community. Would love to, potentially add content to the real world in these places and show off, ways that people can access your program in those, so we can highlight places in the world. We have this geospatial kind of context that we can bring to anything that you're doing, which could be cool. So yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
Cool.
And I think you guys should loop in Brock and Fred Krueger, who was our first presenter on, last week. And they started this Bitcoin Libre platform that allows anyone to basically buy Bitcoin globally. I think they don't have an educational component to it that you're describing, Lisa, and they don't have a metaverse component that you guys are just that Rich was describing. I feel like they would be very good partners in sort of allowing people to immediately use some of these products as well. So I think it started all here at the BNB Chain and Infiom's Founders Academy. As we are about to, finish this, we kept Rish quite a bit whole hour here. Thank you, Rish, for presenting all that. I want to I want to really thank you for always educating me on ways to think about this in a bigger picture way, which is the way we want to do it here, which is having this coordinate system that really helps the world. So I want to thank you on behalf of the whole Academy for doing this lovely lecture for us. And if you're at East Denver, click on that SuperWorld map and see where you should go each evening of next week. And I will see everyone tomorrow at 10 a.m. in our second lecture this week. So thank you, Lisa, for questions, and Pavel and everyone, and see you all tomorrow. Thanks, Rich, again.
Thanks. And get in touch with me on LinkedIn if you want to talk further. I'd love to, again, this is an open dialogue. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to work with all of you. So thank you again.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing that happen. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye.